Yo, what's happening everybody, King GBL here, and welcome back to a brand new Go Battle League video. Today we're going to be showcasing some battles sent into the channel by Matt Main. Matt Main is a fellow content creator. He recently started his own YouTube channel here for Pokemon Go, so feel free to check him out. Link in the description, and you'll see his name in the title as well. Thank you very much for sending in the battles. If you do want to send in some battles of your own, there will be a link in the description to Discord or the Google Drive form. Send those in, and just make sure that the files are viewable by anybody, so that I can download those of course and do reactions. We're also going to be offering coaching on the channel. I've got YouTube channel memberships available, and in those YouTube channel memberships you will get all of the perks that you would normally get, like emotes, loyalty badges, added as a friend, and all of the other normal stuff. But I'm going to be offering different tiers of coaching within there as well. So if you want coaching for 2, 5, 10, or even up to 20 sets per month, we can do live coaching in Discord to help you hit your goals, whether it be trying to hit Ace, Veteran, Expert, or even make the final push to Legend for the first time. If you're interested in that, feel free to become a member and let me know in Discord what time suits you to do that. Today's video we're going to be showcasing a pretty interesting team here in the Great League. We're rocking with Altaria, my best buddy here, Registeel. Huge fan of Registeel. It's definitely one of my favourite Pokemon in the Great League to definitely take switch advantage and gain shields. And I think the more interesting pick in today's video is Jellicent. We've had Frillish spawning in the wild for quite a while, and Jellicent in the Ultra League is insane. But of course with the move update last season, with Surf going on to Jellicent, this Pokemon did get a huge buff. This is quite an interesting pick in the Great League. It's definitely a little bit bulkier than the other ghost types, such as Trevenant and Sableye, which would be two of the more common ghost types. The one nice thing about this Pokemon is of course the Surf coverage and the hard-hitting Shadow Ball. So we're going to see this thing in action today, and maybe this could be one that's worth building. This thing is very good in limited metas, but we're going to be checking it out in the Open Great League today. If you haven't already, hit that like button, it's very much appreciated. Helps out the videos an absolute ton, guys. Take that 2 seconds to do that every video, it really does help. And of course, if you have been enjoying these, do subscribe and turn on notifications as well. So hopping on into the battles here, and we've got Altaria versus Noctowl, and it looks like we're running Dragon Pulse on Altaria. It is recommended to go for Moonblast, or if you don't want to use an Elite Charge TM, probably go for Dazzling Gleam. It's just a better move overall for coverage. Of course, you want to get some extra coverage for things like Dark types, which you can look to pretty much one-shot with those moves. You can go for Dragon Pulse. It's a very hard-hitting move, and quite an interesting one. You know, depending on the team, maybe Dragon Pulse could be quite interesting, but I think you will definitely get a lot more usage and have a much better time with one of the Fairy-type moves. The one nice thing about this matchup here versus Trevenant, of course Trevenant is sort of out of the meta these days. I think Trevenant actually is super underrated, as I mentioned in a video recently, but the one good thing about that is in the Medicham matchup, you don't really have to worry about super effective moves, and you can look to overfarm. Looks like we're going to go for a farm down on Scrafty here. The opponent maybe could have thrown energy here. We're going to fire off the Sky Attack, and we're going to come in with Registeel to go for a lock on down. This is an aggressive lock on down. I absolutely love this. Sometimes if you're in this position, we do shield up the first power punch. I think the opponent's getting to another one. They see the writing in the wall and the top left, and that's a good game anyway. Ampharos, a pretty interesting lead. Altaria is an amazing Pokemon. I might actually use this as a featured Pokemon. I feel like Altaria is super underrated in the lead these days. A lot of the leads I'm getting are things like Deoxys. Sometimes you get Noctowl leads, Medicham. I feel like Altaria is getting so many good leads. The only leads you really have to worry about is like a Charm Ninetales, which you only get every so often. Certainly in around the Expert range, which is where I'm at the moment, you don't really see Charm leads. So Altaria might be an amazing lead. It beats Noctowl, beats Lantern, beats all of the fighters. I feel like it has a good match against Deoxys as well, because of course, unless they're running Rock Slide, which it'll take 2 of them to 2-shot you anyway, you know, it's a pretty good one. The opponent's going to go off a Psychic here. We're going to go for a Surf. Yeah, boom. We could probably go for an Undercharge here if we wanted to get a bit of a Hex down, but getting rid of this thing is fine. The opponent shields it, which is quite interesting, and then top left. The opponent wanted to use their shield and then top left. We've got a Scrafty lead, amazing lead for Altaria. Of course, we do not want to see this thing in our backline, so we have to stay in here. The opponent will farm up to the Foul Play. Typically, they go for Power Punch, and they do go for the Foul Play straight away, which is quite nice. In comes this thing, and we're going to come into Jellicent. Now, both Jellicent and Trevenant have a positive matchup against this, if we're going to compare the two. The opponent goes for a Rock Slide, which is a little bit of a risky bait. Very nice call here by Matt to just let that go. And we're going to look to go for another Surf by the looks of things on CMP. We free after 2 Hexes, which is 6 turns, which can be a CMP. Now, the opponent's going to fire for a move. It is probably going to be the Earthquake, but it's not. The opponent's a mad lad here. I think this can only be another Rock Slide. The opponent at least needs to be building up to the move, but of course we are going to outpace to the Surf. The opponent makes a catch back on Scrafty, and it looks like we're going to chip this, and probably come in for a farm down with Altaria. Yeah, we can come in and get a huge farm down, which you'd love to see. Really good job committing to the farm down. And at this point, the Stunfisk is in Sky Attack range. We're going for an Undercharge here, which I'm not sure why. You just want to get rid of it. And in comes the Azumarill. We're going to go for back-to-back Sky Attacks. Now, a little bit of a tip with Altaria. No matter what move you're using, whether it be Moonblast, Dragon Pulse, or whatever the case is, Scat Attack is such an efficient move that if you can get off, like, let's say, 2 Scat Attacks instead of 1 Moonblast, or if you can get off 3 Scat Attacks or whatever, you do try to get those off. If you're going for raw damage, you go for the Fairy move, or the Dragon move, or if you want to go for efficiency, you go for Scat Attack. If there's a chance the opponent might shield, you go Scat Attack, basically. Noctowl lead, very good lead. We do have a good answer to this in the back with Registeel. This is a little bit interesting. You know, Altaria is such an interesting Pokemon, because like in the back we have Jellicent, which is horrible against Noctowl. The one good thing about Jellicent as compared to Sableye and Trevenant is you've got the Surf coverage to hit it with. If you want to be an absolute mad lad, you can run Ice Beam, which I don't know if you guys seen yesterday, but Pokemon Go's Twitter accidentally said Ice Beam's a debuff move, which if that was the case, that would be insane. The opponent's coming in with a Charmer, and we may just let them take us down here because we're pretty low. We do make a swap out, and in comes Swampert. This is a positive matchup for Jellicent. Of course, again, if you're comparing it to Trevenant, it's a positive match for Trevenant as well, but these Hydro Cannons and things won't add up anywhere near as much. Now, one Earthquake will get us very, very low, and the opponent is going to YOLO it. The Mud Shots are not really good for farming things down, so we should maybe be able to get off 2 more Surfs here. Can we just about get them off? Yes, we do. Beautiful play here. If you think you're only going to get off 1 move, you do go for the Shadow Ball, but Matman correctly goes for the Surf here. We're coming in for an interesting lock-on down. Is this just a Hydro Cannon? We're letting this move go, and I think we may look to catch a move on Altaria here shortly. So I think that could have been the Earthquake, so that was just an amazing call. Here comes the Earthquake now, and back in comes the Charmer. The opponent's in a bit of a shambles here. They're beating Earthquakes, and Matman's not having any of it. Really, really good call. Boom, Zap Cannon coming through. And are we going to go for a catch? We do go for a catch. Can we farm it down in time? The opponent is forced to throw a move. Now, with this Hydro Cannon coming through, it's going to be impossible for the opponent to get to an Earthquake. Hydro Cannon would have been coming very close to taking us out there. I think it would have took us out. So very, very nice play there. And good games. We go 5-0 in that set. Really well played. And, you know, to be honest with you, in his submission, he put coaching, but I think he done really well. We have a very interesting lead with Lopunny and an amazing swap here. We're going to come straight into Registeel. This is such a super dominant matchup. Even if the opponent has Hydro Pump, which they do not, they're on player off, this is a very dominant match. Now, one Zap Cannon doesn't even come close to taking them out, so boom, we go for that Zap Cannon. What I like to do in this matchup here is go for Focus Blast and Undercharge. Actually, you might not even need to undercharge it, or if you do go for the undercharge, you go for a very, very small one, just to come out with extra energy. Lopunny's going to come back and look to double kick us down, so getting to a move on this thing would have been amazing. I think the opponent needs to get rid of us, they do not, and we're going to look to get off a move here. I don't think Lopunny has amazing fighting moves, it is really just the double kick. Of course, Mega Lopunny is a fighting type, and we get off another Focus Blast. The opponent's super greedy here, and this is going to cost them in the end. Boom, in comes Trevenant, in comes Jellicent, and up a shield, Jellicent takes that match. Trevenant does win that in even shields. Amazing lead here, and this is what, actually, you know what, like, could we just say screw Jellicent and just say Altaria is amazing? Because I feel like Altaria is getting so many good leads. We're going to go for the Dragon Pulse here, which is going to do big damage. Of course, the other move is resisted. Boom, the opponent shields it. That would have got very, very close to taking them out. So pretty much how this match works is, if you correctly shield a Thunderbolt, you win. The opponent's baiting, bro. I swear, these people bait way too much. It's insane, like... you can shield this and farm down. Yep, Surf coming through. So the way this match works is, if the opponent lands a Thunderbolt, they can 2-shield and win. Or if you land like the Moonblast or the hard-hitting move, you're guaranteed to win. Generally, it is a positive matchup for Altaria, but you know, it is definitely like a little bit bait dependent or shield dependent. We've got a very good match against Medicham here. I think you at least threaten the Shadow Ball here, but yeah, this Surf will do a nice little chip and put them into a range where one more Surf will take them out. You definitely could have threatened the shield, as that one Psychic does a ton of damage. We need to get out of here into Registeel. Skarmory is such an interesting pick. It's a Pokemon I want to use again, but it's just so hard with like the Air Slash. Air Slash is such a bad move. That's Zap Cannon coming through. Amazing. We're going to probably look to... I would commit to a lock-on down. Flash Cannon coming through. This opponent's using an interesting moveset. I remember in the Mountain Cup, if you're interested in checking out some Skarmory gameplay from me, I was absolutely one-shotting stuff with... Wait, why is he stopping attacking here? He wants to get lower. You don't really need to do this here. I sort of see why you're doing it, because you want to get your switch timer back. Yeah, so like... And we're going for Focus Blast on this thing as well. I think you just go for Zap Cannon, bro. And we're going for Surf as well. Yeah, so I think this is just a little bit less optimal. You know, you could have definitely just got this out of here, yeah. It's going to work out perfectly fine. I think he was looking to wait the clock down. But like, basically in that situation, you were still in range to get off another Zap Cannon. The opponent cannot counter you the whole way down. And if they decide to throw energy, you're going to outpace with the Jellicent anyway. So a little bit unnecessary there. But I think that's good thinking though, like, you know, what he's doing, he's definitely got these ideas in his mind, and that's a really good sign that he's really improving here. So yep, Scrafty, very awkward. Again, the good thing about this matchup with Jellicent here is that we can look to get off, you know, multiple surfs if the opponent lets us. They YOLO the foul play, which is amazing. Throwing in great timing, throwing after 1, 3, or 5 against the 2-turn move. And look, we're getting the Scrafty. Look, can we get the farm down? Not before they get off another move. But we've got rid of a big problem for this team, and we can hopefully look to sweep with our back 2 Pokemon. We're down 2 shields, and this is looking super tough. We do get off a Sky Attack, even though these are super effective moves. Altaria is fake, and we're getting off yet another move. Now, the opponent's going to charm us the whole way down. I think we eat the move on Reggie, because, you know, this is all resisted, right? Not a single move they can throw is super effective, or can even put a chip into this thing, and we're going to lock on this Ninetales down. The amazing thing about Reggie here in the closing position, we get another Skarmory. We can look to go for Zap Cannon to debuff the opponent, get their final shield. Oh, they don't shield because they're absolutely insane. They're absolutely insane. But, you know, to be completely honest, in that situation, like, Skarmory has nothing they can do there. All of the moves are resisted. At least with Noctowl in that situation, you can go for Shadow Ball, but that's why Skarmory is just a little bit weaker. I don't really know what the opponent's trying to do here. They just went straight for Cross Chop. They didn't even build up to Rock Slide or Payback. Payback's 9, I believe. If you're ever in this position, you know, this is a very negative match, right? And Cross Chop is resisted, so you at least threaten the Rock Slide, or at least threaten the hard-hitting move. Walrein comes in here, and they go straight for an Icicle Spear. The opponent's just, you know, just throwing the move instantly, which is not great, of course. We do throw in a little bit less optimal timing. We were at no risk there of Earthquake coming through because the opponent just dumped an Icicle Spear straight away. Looks like they're going to dump another Icicle Spear and go for a farm down. Definitely the opponent needs to be going for the big move. We get off a Shadow Ball, which is amazing. And I think that's one thing you can learn at a lower elo. If you want to get shields off the opponent, which is pretty huge. We're going to come in with Reggie here, by the way, as well. If you want to get shields off the opponent, which is pretty huge, you at least need to build up to the move and like threaten the damage, right? Because at this situation, Mattmean is in two shield scenario, and this is looking good. We're going to reach for this big move. I think at this point with them going for the second Dragon Claw, you don't really need to go for this move anymore. You can maybe look to Sky Attack, and I think they'll maybe like just about get taken out or just about survive. But I don't think it's going to matter too much here. We have a Registeel versus their Walrein. They're just dumping Icicle Spear straight away. We're ahead in energy, takes them 9 Powder Snows to get to the move. That's going to threaten us, and Earthquake does not one-shot us from this range anyway. Very good games and well played, and I think what you can learn from that match is if you're, you know, as the opponent there, they just need to like reach for the bigger moves and threaten shields. So yeah, this is a pretty interesting match. This is a positive match for Altaria. They make a really nice catch in Stunfisk here. So I feel like this is going to be Lantern in the back, and this is actually just like the normal Stunfisk, which is quite interesting. Again, you know, this is not like the worst match in the world. This thing knows Discharge, which is a resisted move, and we don't really want to see this thing in our backline, so we're pretty much forced to stay in here. We do have another answer to Medicham. We can need a couple of discharges, absolutely no problem. We're going to look to YOLO the Dragon Pulse, which I love. Love YOLOing the big moves, and yeah, the opponent lets it go. We aggro swap out here. This is not the play, because the opponent is going to get off a discharge, which is going to force a shield, but we do let it go, and at this point, Drapion comes in. Now, this is a very rough situation. We are going for Shadow Ball. You do want to go Surf, of course, being the Dark-type Pokemon, and this is a really tough position to be in now. One Crunch will basically take us out, but the opponent's going for Aqua Tails. Like, I hate these baits, these are so bad. We're going to go for a Surf. We threw in bad timing, and which actually allowed the opponent to CMP us. They go for the Sludge Bomb. The opponent's not using a good moveset on this thing. You definitely need to be running Crunch on Drapion, and the opponent's going to swap back in here to Medicham. I think giving up alignment was such a bad move there, because we could have looked to farm it down, even if it cost us another shield. We farm the thing down, and then we take alignment and have, you know, the correct Pokemon on Medicham. Because if this thing's on Power Punch, we're in big trouble here. And, you know, usually in the lead they don't have Power Punch, but of course they do here. So this is just over. Unfortunately for us, they've got so much energy, and these counters are really going to add up. We're going to get to one more move here, but the opponent's just ripping for this Reggie, unfortunately. Normally on the swap, you'll see a Medicham with Power Punch. Typically in the lead, you don't really want to run Power Punch. So, of course, I think the match could have been won. We got a nice 4-1 there. I think that could have been a 5-0 had we just stayed in there and kept alignment. Whenever it's a Pokemon in the lead that is going to destroy one of your back Pokemon, you do need to maintain alignment. Now, we stay in here and go for an Overfarm, and we come into Reggie. Now we're basically forced to shield up a Shadow Ball, because the opponent will get to multiple moves. We do go for a Zap Cannon here. We outpiece the Zap Cannon and look to get off the debuff, which is good. Boom, the opponent lets that go, which is kind of insane, to be honest with you, and they get off another Shadow Ball. Now that it's debuffed, this will do much less damage, and this is a lot less threatening. In my personal opinion, letting a Froslass get ahead in energy is never really a good move. The opponent basically comes here and insta-froze because they don't want to get this move on them, but they're going to get it anyway because Reggie is fake. And we're going for a Zap Cannon. I guess you're going for the debuff here, assuming they'll definitely shield. A little bit risky in my opinion, but the opponent does shield it. I guess it's a pretty like safe shield, or a pretty safe bait. We don't get the debuff unfortunately, and the opponent's going to start spamming at Mud Bombs. In general, you want to go for I think 1 Stone Edge and 1 Mud Bomb as the non-shadow here, and the opponent aggro swaps into Noctowl. We're switch locked, but we've got a ton of energy, and if you're ever in the situation where you're like switch locked against a bad Pokemon, you throw off as many moves as you can. Even if it's resisted, throw your moves to try and burn the clock and try to get your correct Pokemon back on it. But these serves are really adding up. Now we could go for like a really risky catch here on Registeel, which is what we're going to do, and the opponent goes for it. Lovely catch right there. A little bit risky because the opponent can maybe look to farm you down and get extra energy, but they were getting super low, that they were almost forced to throw at that stage. We're going to respect the Stone Edge and look to get off the move. The opponent YOLOs the Stone Edge, you love to see it, and we're going to fire off this Dragon Pulse. The opponent's only hope there was just to YOLO that, and for us to no-shield it. So good games, well played. And as you can see here, I'm hearting his comment, you love to see it. We have a Nidoqueen lead, which is quite interesting. This is like winnable for you in the one shield. Of course, they're going to look to go for debuffs. You let the first one go typically, but we are shielding up the first one, which I think is a little bit unnecessary. And we don't go for the Sky Attack as well, which I think we should have went for to at least get a shield off the opponent or get them low. They come in here with the Lantern. What I would have liked to have done there is go for Sky Attack and then come into Reggie. Even though they can go for Earth Power, it doesn't one-shot you. And you can look to go for like a Focus Blast, which of course is resisted. But all of the jabs are resisted. And you can maybe look to draw out one of the Double Darks. Like you can look to draw out the Scrafty for the Altaria and put your Jellicent in a position where you can get it back on the Nidoqueen maybe. You know, you're typically predicting Poison Double Dark here, so it's a little bit awkward. The opponent's not really got what you expected them to have. They come in with a Lantern, they go for another Poison Fang, and I would have definitely got the move off sooner there before they get to another move. And now we've got a Swampert with 2 shields, and we're going to look to go for the move here. We're going to go for the Zap Cannon bait, which is again a little bit risky. Especially because the opponent went for Hydro Cannon. The opponent lets it go, and I had a comment recently, why do you not go for Zap Cannon if they've got 1 shield and a Quagsire? This is why. Sometimes they no shield, and yeah, like this is just rough now at this point. The opponent will definitely shield this one up for sure, boom, and they're going to farm us down and look to Hydro Cannon the thing there. So you know, definitely a little bit tough, but I think there was a lot of things we could have done slightly better. Fairthorn lead here, very interesting one. That's not necessarily that bad for Fairthorn. But of course the Sky Attacks are neutral and the Thunders are neutral, so like I think it is slightly more favourable for Altaria with the fast move pressure. In comes an Altaria of their own, and Registeel has a pretty decent matchup here. Of course it resists all the moves, but if they 2-shield, you're going to see here that this actually gets very close. These Sky Attacks, which again is the more efficient move which you want to go for, and the Dragon Breaths really add up on this Registeel. We're going to go for yet another Zap Cannon. But this is the power of our cannot speak. This is the power of our Altaria. Jeez, I can't speak, bro. The opponent's gonna go for a Thunder here, hopefully. We're shielding up the Thunder. It is a Power Whip, so the opponent's a Master Beater. We're a Master Beater too. This is so risky. This is so unnecessary. But yeah, the opponent's a shielded. I just like YOLOing the moves a little bit more often there. I think one of the biggest mistakes that players make is just baiting way too much. We're gonna come in with this thing, of course, like to go for neutral Sky Attacks, which is the correct play here. Boom, that's going to go through. We're going to need one more move to take them out. The opponent's going to fire off the move. It is the Mirror Shot, so the opponent was not running Thunder at all. And at this point, we were safe to basically probably even commit to a farm down at this point. Mirror Shots do not add up that much, and of course these Bullet Seeds will not either. We do get the attack drop, and we fire off the Sky Attack here. Debatably, you could probably hold on to this move, because it's debuffed, and just come straight into Jellicent. The opponent's going to get off a move here. Will it be the Play Rough? It is Play Rough. And after another one of those, we'll be in bubble down range pretty much. So we're going to get off the big move here, get off big damage. Boom, that's going to get very close to taking this thing out. I think we probably do just invest a shield here. Yeah, I like this here. And at this point, you can probably overfarm slightly, go for a Surf. And I think, yeah, he's reaching for the Switch Clock here. Looking to get into Altaria. Yeah, that does take them out, and we can get off a Shadow Ball and Fairthorn. Good games, very well played. I think just a little bit of unnecessary baiting there, in my opinion. Is definitely costing some games, and it's costing opponents games quite a lot as well. Definitely whenever I was trying to hit Veteran and Expert for the first time, you know, in the last few seasons, like, baiting is something I've done way too much. I think baiting probably works better at higher elos, to be completely honest, but at lower elos, I feel like people would just bait way too much. They just predict the opponent has to shield when they don't necessarily have to, especially if you don't know what the opponent has in the back. Baiting can be just super risky, especially whenever it's the difference of like a couple of turns. I think you just YOLO the move, The opponents may let things go or might try to call the bait, because I feel like in these elos, like in around, let's say the 2000 to expert range, people bait so often. I think definitely after veteran, like people are a little bit better with it, but let's say like from 2000 to veteran, people just bait so often that people have to try to kind of call baits. I think there's a really big bait game going on around the veteran, sort of ace to veteran range. Definitely if you're in around like the 2200s to 2600s, you know, it's a huge baiting game. People bait way too much, and it's like honestly like a misplay and a mistake in people's gameplay. And you know, that's sort of putting you in that position where like people are just making really stupid baits and you're having to try and call them, which is just making the games very awkward. So I think just, you know, knowing when to throw the correct move is the key. One good example is, you know, for example, let's say you swap your, let's say it's a Medicham lead and they swap in Lantern, right? You know that the opponent most of the time should not be shielding, and they're going to look to come in and go for farm down with Medicham. You know, that's kind of what they're doing. They're looking to draw out something that Medicham can counter down. So in those situations, you almost never bait. Unless, like, you only really bait if you really, really have to. Like, if it's your win condition, in my opinion, that's what you do. But if you're in a very dominant match, there's just really no need to bait, I don't think. We're coming into this thing here, which is great. We can eat a Psychic. It does about 50%, which is definitely tough. Boom. And they do not get the defense drop. In comes Altaria. This is a pretty good match for Altaria, I believe, but we should be able to get off 2 Shadow Balls, which will put this very, very deep, and of course we'll look to take it out if they'll allow us to. The opponent's going to probably shield up once and commit to the farm down. Boom. So in that situation, you know, generally, like, my rules with baiting is if the move can one-shot, you can potentially look to bait. If it's a move, like, for example, if you're trying to bait a Registeel and the move is not going to one-shot them, you just don't go for it. Amazing match here, even on top lefts. Not a whole lot they can do. Thanks very much everybody for watching, and thank you for Matt Mendes for sending in the battles. Hopefully you guys learned something, and hopefully you enjoyed the Jellicent gameplay, and of course Altaria. I think Altaria was definitely the king of this video. It was just doing super, super well. Thank you very much everybody. Have a fantastic rest of your day. Like I said, feel free to check out the coaching in the links down below, or send in your own battles as well for me to react to. Have a fantastic rest of your day, and I'll catch you all tomorrow for a brand new video.